Hello again, everyone. Melth here, with more of my Baldur's Gate 3 challenge run. And a slightly different audio setup this time. Let me know how you think it compares to the previous videos. Now, in the previous video, I talked about my builds for Act 2, and generally what I think good party builds for this phase of the game should be like anyway. This time, I'm talking about some really very little known ways to power up your party further. Looking forward to that. This will also, of course, be the beginning of the giant, no long rest Act 2 adventuring that will take me through pretty much everything. As usual, details of the challenge run are in the YouTube video description, and watch out for spoilers throughout this run. Now, when starting any long adventuring day, it's especially important to get all of your all-day buffs set up in advance and not forget them. I've got my long shred, of course, on all characters at this point. I've had Astarion bite someone in camp for his happy bonus and things like that. Here in Act 2, I think it's very good to cast Light on everyone in the party that you can. Even if you have the Blood of Lathander weapon, Light itself has some uses that the Blood of Lathander does not provide, and there are a lot of invisible shadows that you just want to be able to reveal with multiple characters. Remember that in this game, Light is on your weapon, so make sure you have your right either melee versus ranged weapon set equipped first.
By my oath.
Now, last time I talked to the creepy blood elixir seller Araj over there, and got some of the unique racial blood elixirs from her. I think that although those are pretty precious, it makes sense to use one or two of them now. Now, Karlach, as I mentioned, will be my Blood of Lathander deliverer, so she needs to have high speed, and this is a pretty good use case for the Elixir of Elven Elegance, adding 10 meters of movement speed to help deliver that devastating Light of Lathander blessing wherever I need it at any given time. Then, for the main character, I think the Elixir of Human Versatility is pretty hard to say no to. As a bard with jack of all trades, I have some substitute for this, but, just having proficiency in every single skill, especially when we're about to hit level 9 and therefore increase your proficiency modifier, is really hard to turn down. The phase character makes a lot of skill checks, and even as a bard, you cannot have every skill. Remember that these racial elixirs stack with regular elixirs like Bloodlust or the Battle Mage's one. Next up, just to be able to enjoy all the many fun conversations with animals in the game, I think it's good to have your face character drink a potion of animal speaking. Potion of mind reading is also a fun option. Also very important to decide on for most parties is this potion of everlasting vigor that gives a permanent stacks with everything plus 2 strength. That's really pretty amazing, but my party has no strength builds in it, and probably never will. So for me this is surprisingly unimportant. I might give it to Balthazar just because as the main character he sometimes makes some strength checks once in a while. It's good to cast some of her all-day buff spells too. Like, in this game, Magic Weapon is much better than it is at the tabletop, because it stacks the weapon actually being magical, which makes it go from being worthless to being worth something. And also it lasts until long rest rather than just like a minute. So I definitely want that on Astarion. Now, a buff that I really find very interesting, but seldom use, is this one, Warding Bond. The gist of it is that you target a creature, and you and that creature kind of split damage. So if they would take 10 damage, you take 5, they take 5. Also, they get a +1 bonus to their armor class and saving throws, and that part is really good. And if it did only that all day, I would love it. The reason I don't love it is the splitting damage part can be kind of disadvantageous, because only clerics learn this spell, basically, and clerics are probably one of the worst users of this spell. Because your cleric, like Karlach, has important things to concentrate on, so having them take more damage, basically, instead of an ally taking the damage, is not good. Meanwhile, clerics don't really have ways to generate for themselves a lot of temporary hit points or things like that to mitigate it. But, if Mithara is casting an all-day super powerful thing like Magic Weapon, it might be worth it to cast on her. I'm going to try that. It is also worth knowing that most, clever chains or trees or reverses of Warding Bond do not work, but you can cast it on summons, which is usually not a good idea. But on Dryads, which are super fragile and yet extremely valuable and cost a 4th level spell slot to summon, it could actually be worth it, so I'm going to go for that too here. I'm actually going to buff with some Hag Potions too. I made a guide video about which ones of those are actually worthwhile. Some of them are fairly good. Karlach is going to drink this Heart of Stone one. If you drink that, it gives you free, no downsides, all day long poison resistance. Now, that's not that amazing, because most of the poison damage in the game is in Act 1, but there is some of it here in Act 2. The reason it's not that great for my party is that I have this Dryad now that gives the entire party an aura that gives poison resistance and many other useful things. Dryads are just phenomenal, as I mentioned. But Karlach with her super speed might sometimes be out of the Dryad aura, so if anyone's going to get value out of it, it's Karlach, so I might as well have her drink it. I think I'll actually change up Karlach's armor from the Dwarven Split Mail to be the Adamantine armor for now. Usually I would ditch that at this stage, but given that I'm having her cast Warding Bond, she could be taking small amounts of chip damage. Reducing all those damages by 2 is actually worth something, I would say. I'm actually going to switch shields around in that case, so that AC is a little bit more evenly distributed, and so that Minthara has the shield that gives +1 to saving throws to help her make her concentration saves to maintain magic weapon, which is what this is all kind of about. Next up, it's great for a high mobility person to have see invisibility on them, and Karlach's spell save DC is extremely high, so enemies will probably fail against it. Now I do of course have Volo's Eye already, but because enemies get a saving throw against it, it's good to have multiple people who have it, and plus in this act there's a lot of invisible people, so you want to have people in different positions who can reveal different enemies in different sectors. Last all-day spell I want to cast, I think, will be Protection from Evil and Good onto Minthara. So again, help protect her concentration. But also, because Starion has the Strange Conduit Ring, which, while concentrated on anything, gives him plus a d4 psychic damage. Some people seem to recommend Hunter's Mark for that, but Hunter's Mark, as I said before, is not at all a good spell in this game most of the time. So it doesn't become a good spell for just needing to concentrate on something. You might as well actually cast something that is worth something, like Protection from Evil and Good, which is very good in this act. Now normally at this point I would cast Aid to give my party tons and tons of hit points, but I might actually put that off for a little bit longer, because I'll get one more summon in a little bit, and I want to give it the benefits of Aid for more hit points too. Next up, a very cool mechanic that I bet not everyone out there knows about. Did you know that you can have summons and other non-major party members drink elixirs? The way you do it is select the person, open up the inventory, and then find the elixir you want, right-click it, and drink. Elixir of Vigilance is excellent, giving +5 initiative. Now my dragon can often go first and help put down his battlefield control spells early on. I really think that is quite interesting as a mechanic. It lets you kind of customize your summons instead of them being totally generic. And it's expensive because you need to have a lot of elixirs, which are hard to come by, but it's interesting. Yeah, I can, for example, give my Wood Woad over here, that's summoned with a Dryad. I can give it an elixir of Cloud Jump Strength to hit more accurately with its powerful melee attack, which would be pretty interesting and pretty useful. Or I can give it Vigilance to go faster, or give it some other kind of elixir. You can kind of customize that way. I think I'm going to give my skeletons Elixirs of Heroism. They can use that accuracy boost. Now, because elixirs are a little bit scarce and precious, I probably won't give one to the Ravens in this act, because I can kind of rely upon Blood of Lathander to beat people blindness a fair amount throughout Act 2. But in later acts, I might well give the Raven, Blessing to help hit people more accurately and things like that too. We'll see. For the Wood Woad, fire resistance could actually be decent, just because it's weak to fire, and that would be a fairly good help there. I think I'll give mine Vigilance, though, so we can actually get to act more often. It's pretty nice in Tangles, and it's a shame when you can't actually use those. So, up next is one of the most pervasive and challenging encounters in Baldur's Gate 3, overcoming a bug. The problem is that for some reason, over hereabouts in the kitchen, there is a cult member who's dominated some gnolls, and the gnolls are, possible to talk to. You can make them break free. In many ways the conversation can go. But the thing is, I found if I'm in that general area, for whatever reason, the game will randomly crash the desktop, whether they're alive or dead. So my plan at this point is to have that encounter. I'm going to do things as fast as possible. I will have just Astarion go in there alone, wipe them out in hopefully like 3 seconds, and then I will teleport out of the room and only come back in there to quickly loot things and then never again. Because I don't know what's causing this bug. I have not been able to deduce it with several different tests, so I better just get it out of the way and do the fight now, I think. Alright, let's roll. I'm going to just take a shot at one of the gnolls to power myself up and clicking a status, and thereby unlocking my +5 damage from Wisdom. Oop, that was terrible damage. It didn't kill somehow or other. Alright, let's shoot for another one then. That should give me enough damage to take this one out in one hit, most likely with Cold Weak. And one more, and I've got another attack left because this build is pretty crazy. Okay, then let's teleport. Now let's send just Ballista to loot that room as fast as possible, and then again teleport out of there so hopefully it won't crash at that point. Because I have had it crash after they are dead before. Alright. Go, 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 Ballista. This one has a parasite and some other random junk. I'm gonna just take it all, even though most of it's worthless, just so I can get this done faster. These guys have ears, so I'm happy to have those. Now I just need to remember to never go near that room again, because I still don't know if I've truly permanently solved the problem, or just avoided it for now and had that encounter. Alright, let's use our new illithid power-up we can get. So I've already got one of the most important ones, Static Backlash, on every character in the party. So they can really, when people cast spells, we can blast them for lots and lots of damage, and maybe just kill weak casters outright that way.
No one's stopped me yet.
It might be good to take Call the Weak on Ballista next, it's a pretty good one. I might go for this because it's available right now without any further build-up. By the way, someone recommended recently get a mod to suppress all the Sylvanas' Blessing modifications that usually clutter up the combat log, and I've done that, and it is so much better. Alright. So, my plan this time is basically to do the various talking to NPCs and doing quests around Moonrise Towers and a couple of battles in here. Now, I'm looking forward to the big battle against everyone, but the thing is, I'm not 100% sure what the hardest way to fight all these guys is. I've only done Act 2, 1.5 times before, so I really only know one way this fight can go. I guess the thing I'm trying to figure out is, which of these NPCs will be just kind of dead, or otherwise made really, really easy, if I wait until the big battle with the Harpers and whatnot.
Under the absolute.
Do any new people spawn in when that battle happens? Do any old people die off? Do anyone get grouped up in a way that makes things tougher? If you out there have thoughts about which groups of NPCs in here are tougher to fight before or after the Harper giant battle, I'd be glad to know that, so I can figure out the toughest way to fight everything. Alright, Mig gives us a little quest here.
Meat sounds above. Here.
Adorable little face of that listening ogre.
For a moment, you do hear it. Flesh sliding.
Ogres are just kind of perpetually hungry
Like a
at their
living
lore, at least
being
right now.
extending through the walls.
Big.
So again, this is really interesting. The whole tower is physically full of a giant elder brain mind flayer entity thing.
Kitchen.
Which again is interesting, hard evidence that should be able to present to some of these cultists who don't know they've been controlled by mind flayers and whatnot, to hopefully get some of them to defect or cause commotions and things like that. But sadly, there's just no way to really follow up on that. You find like the actual physical tendrils of the mind flayer in the walls, and you just can't do anything with it.
No one back home will ever believe this.
Okay, I guess, but after how cool it was in Act 1, where you can often, collect evidence to prove that, enemies were doing nefarious things and whatnot, that you can't do any of that here kind of feels railroady in my opinion. Alright, I'm going to try to avoid getting too close to the kitchens here where I could get another crash and talk to that cat for some Dark Urge dialogue. Not that there's that much going on here. I do really like how they gave each cat in this game a very different personality.
Some stray. I am a champion hunter. When I lick my pelt, I taste blood. Fortunately
Well,
for you.
I mean, Mind Flayer parasites don't really have that, so...
For now.
Anyway, it's just torturing some random Mind Flayer parasite because it's a dumb cat that likes to play with its food.
The Deathwalker passed through here before. I know your scent.
We've already got some pieces of information saying that I've been in this tower before. It doesn't have too much that's new because, I mean, this is a cat. What's the cat gonna know?
My domain.
This is one of those times where just trying to remember causes you to do Dark Urge stuff. I don't love this scene because, we have the whole party behind us right here. Something's visible as this is happening.
Useless mind.
Other dialogue will show the cat is ready to run and escape into a cat hole, but somehow or other, we just
Kitty cat mule.
massacre it here, and the rest of the party doesn't care about that or react to it in any way, which strikes me as nonsensical.
Cat crossing the path of the living. The pleasure of the memory dribbles out of your leaking skull into the very air.
So, Bolas, of course, is shocked by that. But no one else in the party cares at all. Or reacted at all. Or will acknowledge it if you talk to them.
This tower before. That much is sure.
Yeah, we already knew that part. Anyway, that gives us some inspiration for Karlach, who I guess just loved seeing that cat killed and whatnot. Anyway, let's back away from the kitchens of doom that cause crashes. And follow up on Mig's quest to find the meat in the tower by going a different direction. Well, actually, there's one treasure we should grab along the way. This cracked wall I can blow open. There's treasure chest back there. I believe there's one other cracked wall with a chest in this tower. I'll see if I can remember where that is as we explore around here.
Let's see what this does.
Most NPCs in the tower don't have all that much as interesting to say, just kind of generic cult soldier dialogue, I would describe it as. We got into that dungeon and fight the jailer soon, I think, because we of course got them all grouped up, got them all aggroed, so now is a good time to fight them and have a tough battle instead of them being all isolated, I think. Again, I don't know which of these guys will be automatically dead when the Harper fight begins, which ones they should therefore fight ahead of time, or what. Right now they're kind of scattered and will be pretty easy to take on. Oh, wait, that's the Kitchen of Doom. Better get away from that and just study this thing.
Something slimy.
I mean, it sure does. It's not just dripping, it's spreading out across like half of the room. In like this dining area, no less. Let's get up the ladder. There's an extensive overfloor area here with rafters, which, if you wanted to do the battle against, Catharic's forces in the throne room the easy way, you could basically get up onto these rafters and go into the room that way, and then you'd have a trivial time trashing everyone down in that area. But of course, on my side video I'll be doing about showing how to battle everyone in there. I'll be doing things the hard way, so it's an actually interesting battle. Alright, there's another cracked wall. This is not possible to blow open. I'm in dialogue that I can't see. There we go.
Through a narrow crack in the wall, you hear something shift.
As far as I'm aware, there's no positive for doing this, but you get some interesting scenes. Especially if you are a warlock with an aberration patron. Proficiency with everything helps here. I must always remember throughout this act, while Mithar is concentrating on magic weapon, to not have her cast that in Ruin. I must always have Karlach do the guidance in Ruin.
You almost catch a glimpse, but the darkness within the wall is too deep.
Let's just reach on in.
Your awareness
Anyway, if you screw this up, your arm gets dislocated and you're crippled for the rest of the day.
through every wall in the tower, every mind. A vast living network extending down into the dark, where something wakes.
Oh, it crashed. Alright, after some tedious repetition, here I am again. Let's get through this as fast as possible.
Stone, the pulse of a crawling, living thing. You can't quite
Okay, let's stupidly reach in
recognize your awareness unfold.
and hope it doesn't crash before I can teleport out of here again.
Every wall
I really must give a mouth that approves for how often I've had things crash in this area without any kind of
a
explanation.
vast living network extending down into the dark, where something wakes.
It's a trap!
Tendrils snap like iron cords around your wrist. That presence in your mind looms large, closer now.
Alright, I'm good at this. I'm pretty good at every skill. Let's get out of here.
You stop resisting, your arm bending with the movement of the flesh, and suddenly an opening appears. With a soft sucking sound, your hand pulls free. The flesh within the wall retreats.
No more posing, Bolas. Let's get out of here. Alright, let's talk to Mig and report success on this quest.
Loud! Clumsy! Being... telling... Tell me. Uh-huh. Okay. But... how taste?
And it'd be fun if we get the ogre to go eat it and, again, show it to people that way.
Blech! No! Make stick to full flesh. Nice and sweet.
Alright, looking forward to killing you like all the other ogres, Mig. Anyway, that was one minor quest taken care of. Okay, well, I've had to do all kinds of things to try to avoid crashes in here, but let's take a run up to Balthazar's room, which we were doing several sessions ago, because we got permission from Disciple Zeboing Rel to have a look in there. Which we really want to do to loot the place and get a moon lantern, find out how they work and so forth. Over here we've got some foreshadowing about the battle with Marcus we'll be having later on. Unusual thing to find this note first. Indicating that he severed wings for someone and used them to staple wings basically onto Marcus, who then sent out on a somewhat important mission. Yeah, I've never talked to these two out here. I wonder if whoever they are another group they'll need to fight before getting the Harpers to come over here for the big battle.
All those beasts camped under one banner. That's the Absolute's power. The General's power.
Okay, fairly generic cult dialogue.
Hey, Trousseau. What's the word? Armies gathered outside. The General giving us marching orders. Just keen to get back to the gate is all. I was born there.
Interesting that they're wearing not the General Absolute symbol, but it looks more like the Merkel symbol there. Okay, so it says the view to the west, where I don't think we can actually see because the tower itself is blocking us. But it is true that if we navigate to around thereabouts on the map, we'll be able to find the actual camp off in the distance, which does look pretty cool. Alright, so that should be Balthazar's room, and in we go. Gross. Well, let's close the door so we don't have anyone noticing what we're looting.
The disc is formed from slate and engraved with
We'll find some Githyanki here in Act 2. It's a battle some people think is pretty tough.
that Lae'zel deciphered. This time, the symbols easily resolve into coherent words and sentences. The story of Orpheus further unfolds. The Prince of the Comet, Part 3.
The cult does, and this is kind of a crucial plot point, know something about how the prism had a power that could defeat the Mind Flayers.
Torn and fed to the great red dragon, Ephelaman. Vlaakith's faithful roar out this tale. But beneath the roars we hear whispers.
Alright, well apparently the crash zone extends even to the upper floors. This is going to be a pretty miserable experience going through the various nooks and crannies of Balthazar's room, and it'll spoil some of the interesting stuff up there, unfortunately. I think we'll end that episode a little bit early here and see what I can get done next time. Quick saving all the way, I suppose. Thank you for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Master Knight DH, Jackie, Enlino, Travis, Carlo Andrea 97, Cthulhu's Mom, Oliver, Andrew Curzon, Troobsy, Skill Rap, Gregory, William Wakefield, Danny Hall, Jeffrey Morse, Jost, Becca, Jack, Mashas01, Jacob Marshall, Nubiana, Till Fisher, Discord Colossus, Nicholas Schmuck, Kostya Nesterovich, Goman Blackrock, Dodo King 4, Marcin Bialek, Techno Waffle, Nebular, I Loop, Michael Francis, Emperor Kong 420, Robin Mackey, Micken Balls, Stygian Flamey, Micah Marie, Christopher Allen, Stefan Van Zyl, Eddie, Wendy, Ali Kasamoglu, Lucas Riverola, Skylar Sauce, Nick Myers, Bethany James, Emp Ninjas, Prebin, Mango Jelly, and Chupaton. Have a great day, everyone.